When you open Scratch, you'll see a screen that looks something like this. You'll see in this square here a picture of what will actually show up when you run the program. This little cat in the middle is called a sprite. We can change that to other objects, we can add additional sprites, etc. The column here shows you all the different command options that are available to you. Right now we've selected all the motion commands like moving the sprite, turning the sprite, changing the direction in which the sprite is pointed, etc. Here we can change looks, where we could say, for example, if we want the sprite to be saying something, we go to this set of commands. We can change color, we can change costume, which we'll get back to. You have some sound options. You have some pen options, which enables the sprite to actually draw a line as it moves. We have here events. So for example, this, when clicked, will start the sequence of commands. We can refer to other kinds of, for example, if we want the sprite to respond to certain key presses, we can do that from here. We'll come back to that. Here we have our control options, where if we want the sprite to wait, if we want it to repeat an action, either a number of times or forever. If we want to have conditional statements, we find those here. Sensing will tell you something about what the sprite will do under certain kinds of conditions that it senses, if it senses that it's at the edge, if it senses it touching another color, etc. We'll explore these in greater detail. When we want to associate one of these commands with the sprite, what we do is, with the sprite selected, as you can see down here, we go to a command, so let's say motion, for example. We drag the command into this panel here, move 10 steps. Now when we click this, you'll see that the sprite will move 10 steps. Click it again, it does it again, etc. So that's how we get the commands to associate with a particular sprite. Now let's say after it moves 10 steps, we want it to turn 15 degrees. Well, we take that block, we put it in here, and we attach it to the first block. So now after it moves 10 steps, it'll turn 15 degrees. Now it'll keep doing that. Now obviously it doesn't make sense to have to keep clicking it, so we might, for example, want to do something like this, where we say repeat 10 times. So now when we click this, it's going to do the sequence, and it's going to do it 10 times. The other thing we can do is, if we go down to the sprite here, we can see that if we right-click it, we'll see certain things information we might want about the sprite. So as its current location, the direction it's pointing, its rotation style, and this will be important because when it bounces off the side, for example, if you want it just to be flipping back and forth without turning upside down, you would select this method of rotation. With this method of rotation, it'll actually flip when it hits the sidewall, and you'll explore that in greater detail. We can either show the sprite or hide the sprite. We can allow the player to drag the sprite or not by clicking here. Again, we'll look at a lot of these in more detail. This is just to give you an introduction.